and a brutal murder scene. The white stucco house in the Hollywood Hills was very easy to miss. But to the cops, it was a renowned drug den. And for porn legend John Holmes, it was his own personal pharmacy. Number 7, the Wonderland Murders.
John Holmes was the biggest adult film star in the late 70s. There was tons of money, tons of drugs.
Holmes made more than 2,500 films as his alter ego, Johnny Wad, but all he had to show for his career was a $1,500 a day coke habit.
This was a period where porn was still very much a shadow environment, and the people involved in it were shadowy people.
By the end of the 70s, Holmes was out of work, unable to perform due to his drug abuse. He fell in with the gang at the house on Wonderland Avenue.
People would come and go from the house day and night. That balcony came into play. They would just throw the drugs down and the money up.
Holmes also hung out with nightclub owner Eddie Nash, a man who always seemed to keep an ample supply of drugs in his Hollywood mansion. Desperate and broke, the porn star and his drug buddies decided to rob Nash.
And basically the Wonderland Avenue gang were a bunch of dope house rip-offs. They would get police badges and go rip off drug dealers, and then they would sell the drugs. So that's what they were known for.
On June 29, 1981, hours after Holmes left a door unlocked at Nash's house, the Wonderland gang stormed inside. According to police, they came away with drugs, jewelry, and $185,000 in cash.
I stole some money, tied Nash up. Not a good thing to do.
A day after the robbery, Holmes was spotted wearing some of the stolen jewelry. Nash forced a confession from the porn star. On July 1st, 1981, Holmes led at least 3 men into the Wonderland house.
John punched in the security code, and they said, "Who is it?" And he said, "It's John Holmes." They let him in, not suspecting that they were going to be attacked.
The murderers went from room to room, beating whomever they found.
The victims were bludgeoned to death with lead pipes.
There were 5 victims involved. Of the 5 victims, 4 died as a result of the attacks. 1 did survive, although suffered some debilitating injuries.
The murders were so violent that when police arrived the next day, they discovered a grisly sight.
Usually the bloodiest kinds of wounds that we see are typically stab wounds. They tend to be the worst kinds of bleeders, but blood force would probably be a close second to the amount of blood loss that will occur. And in this particular case, the Wonderland murders presented a fairly gruesome, fairly bloody scene.
Holmes immediately was a suspect, as he was the only link between the Wonderland gang and Nash.
Now, how much he saw, how much he did is up for speculation. There are those that say that he was made to watch the murders and to get his hands dirty. They did find, I believe it was a bloody palm print on the wall from one of the victims' blood, and that involved him.
In 1982, Holmes was tried for the murders, but his lawyers argued that he was just another victim. Holmes was acquitted. Eventually, Eddie Nash pled guilty to conspiracy in connection to the Wonderland murders. He served just 31 months in prison. For John Holmes, he escaped prison time, but life didn't get better for the porn legend.
He started to do gay films for money to feed his drug habit, and that's allegedly where he contracted the AIDS virus.
John Holmes died on March 13, 1988.
John Holmes was kind of the embodiment and the consequence of what happens with that kind